Hey, this is Dan Kahn with Kahn Media and Only the Strong Survive business podcast. We got a listener question that I thought I would hop on and answer today. So, Bill Snow asked, how does one execute PR on their own? Sometimes companies can't afford PR budget right away, but need to get media aware of their mission, their product, their service, events, whatever. How do you do that without an agency? So, Bill, great question. Thanks for asking that. And, it's actually a lot easier and harder than it ever has been before. And let me explain that a little bit. When I started doing PR about 20 years ago, it was very much relationship based. When you talk about what we now call earned media, so getting other people to sort of cover you, write about you, talk about you, whatever, you would have, there was different databases. Back in the early days, it was a book, and then it was obviously websites, and you would have to sort of research who covered what beat at a website or at a publication or a TV show, and figure out who an assignment editor was, or who you needed to pitch, and you could send them a press release, and maybe they picked up that press release. Maybe you had to pitch them on the phone a couple times, or send a couple emails and leave a couple voicemails, and get them to cover it, run the story on your product or your company or your event. Um, it was doable back then. There was some gatekeeping because you had to have access to that database. And then typically you had to have the time and inclination to write that release and to make those calls and to send those emails, and just kind of keep grinding, just like selling. You're selling a story instead of selling a product, until someone picks it up and runs with it. That is still the case today. So the difference is the pool of people that you can use for earned media has both shrunk and also exploded. And that's why earlier I said that it's gotten both harder and easier. The media, and whether you're talking about the fashion industry, the outdoor industry, the automotive industry, it doesn't really matter. Whatever sort of segment, even if it's local media, then you've got a local business, you're a contractor, you own a restaurant, whatever. The pool of paid media, people who earn a living producing kind of traditional journalism style content, has shrunk quite a bit over the years. And I think that's mostly because of disruption in the space. Newspaper circ drops every year. Magazines have, for the most part, gone away. There are some left, and there's some really good independent ones that I really enjoy, but that business model has shrunk as newsstands have shrunk and gone away. TV news, that business is in serious peril. So as those business models change, and ad revenue that supports them changes, the people that are paid to be on salary to produce that content, the number keeps shrinking. But the number of companies that want that earned media, that's actually probably grown as our population grows. There's more small businesses today than ever before. So what that means is that the media who are sort of a traditional journalist, there's fewer of them than ever, and they're getting absolutely hammered with pitches. So it's really about building relationships and being respectful of people's time. So if you want traditional PR, which would be getting a website, a blog, a newspaper, a magazine, a TV show, a radio show, whatever, to cover your product or your service, I would recommend, to start, the press release thing. It seems old fashioned. I know it does. In many cases, we still do them. Now, we might put rich media in a press release. So there's a playable video and a really good gallery of great imagery in there, rather than just sort of a piece of copy. You want to give them as many assets as you can. And the reason we still send releases in most cases is it's a reference point. I don't expect them to run it. Most of the places that would run like a news section, that doesn't even exist on most sites anymore. But we do it as a reference point so that when they circle back, if you can set that hook, you want to give them something to circle back and look at and reference when they're writing or when they're talking or when they're putting together a segment. So build that release. If you're going to use AI, make sure your prompts are really good. You want it to have a conversational tone. Write it in AP style. Make it read it out loud so that it reads like something that was actually written by a human with emotion. If it's just like canned AI copy that just reads really, really, if it feels inauthentic, they're going to delete it. So once you have the content, you have the release, you have the video, you have the photo, show people using your product or your service. That always helps. You need to build a tight list. Don't buy some list on the internet where you're going to just be shotgunning your message out, because all you're going to do is alienate people and maybe get like flagged as spam, which is even worse. So do the research, figure out who actually would cover your company. Look at a beat. Does this person, if you have a local restaurant and you're based in New York, don't pitch a restaurant or a food blog that's based in Chicago. You're just going to irritate them, and then they're never going to open your email again. If you sell, outdoor apparel for hiking, don't send a product release or a pitch to somebody, in a totally different segment. So make sure that I remember when I was an editor years ago, and this is 25 years later, this still sticks out in my mind. I worked for a performance, like a muscle car magazine, and I got pitched by a company that made like stick-on rear view mirrors. And I remember like, I'm never going to run this. Why would you pitch this to me? It's completely like, have you ever looked at my publication? Like this is nothing I would ever run. So stop wasting my time. So be respectful of the person's beat, of what they write about, of what they cover. Build your own list. And you don't need a lot of expensive database tools to do that. And I tell my employees this all the time. Google is still a really powerful tool. You can go into the Google News tab and you can search for the name of your competitors and you can see who's covering them. Start there, do some competitive research, build the list, look at the bylines. Most journalists, if you can't find their contact info on their byline, Google their name and you can probably find their Twitter/X profile and you can pitch them right through X. You can find out where they live. You can get some basic contact info so you can DM them. A lot of freelance journalists these days have their own website and they have a contact me button. Just find their contact info. So build out a tight list. And then when you pitch them, don't do a mail merge. Don't do this like giant, like drop everyone's name in a BCC and hit send. Guaranteed it'll get deleted. Send individual, emails. Be personal. Say, hey, I saw that you covered this story the other day and I really liked it. Read the story, reference their work. Show them you're a human who actually put time in to understand them. I have something, I own my own business. I make this product. I have this service. I thought you might find it interesting. Let me know what you think. So be conversational, be a human, reach out to them. It does take time. And then in the meantime, as you start to do that, build relationships with these people and make sure that they know that you're not just doing a fire and forget. Like learn about them, ask questions. And if some of them do respond to you, try to get to know them. Find out, like, do they have kids? Where do they live? What are their hobbies? What beat do they cover? What are they interested in? And make some notes, reference that. The next time you go and call that person back, if you find out that a journalist is, the other thing to also do always as a side note is ask if they're on deadline. If you're talking to someone and they're a real working journalist, say, hey, are you on deadline? And if they say yes, respect it. They'll remember that. Because it's not, at this point, you're not just trying to use them, right? You're trying to build a relationship with them. And then as you move forward, reference commonalities, it's like a friendship. If you can get to know these people a little bit, they're going to be more likely to open your emails and they're going to respect you. And then you can actually work with them in the future. Now, that's all kind of traditional media. The other side of it is content creators and influencers. And that's where, so the harder part is the traditional media. The easier part is there is a much bigger pool of content creators out there than ever before who have huge audiences that it would be a great place to promote your product or service. You just have to find the right one. So whether you're a car company trying to launch a new vehicle, and by the way, and we work with several OEMs as our agency of record, we put together long lead events where we're bringing out, multiple waves of people to cover these new car launches, 15, 20 people at a time sometimes. And we'll do 2 or 3 waves like that. It's gotten to the point now where more than 50% of the people we're inviting are not traditional journalists. They're creators, they're influencers. And it's because of velocity. They can get their message out very quickly. They typically, and we don't pay influencers for the most part. We try to avoid that whenever possible. We try to make things more authentic. So make it experiential. Try product seeding. Let them try your product or service and say, hey, give me honest feedback. And by the way, if you love it and want to tell your audience about it, that would be great. And I would really appreciate it. And thank you. Maybe we can help each other. If you hate it or have a bad experience, tell me why so I can learn, and maybe hopefully don't tell everyone about the product. Let me learn from that and fix it before you tell anyone about it. And it actually becomes like an R&D experience for you too. You can actually learn from that. And I think if you can start small with product seeding, get to some micro influencers. You don't have to go to Mr. Beast with your first outreach. Find someone with 10 or 15,000 followers that talks to your target demo, talks to your segment. Send them the product, let them try the service, grow with them. As their page grows, if they continue to grind and grow their page from 10,000 to 20,000 to 100,000, and you were there on the ground floor and you build a relationship and a friendship, they'll stick with you. And that's a really cool way to sort of not only, promote your product and your company, but also to kind of grow with someone and have a partnership. And we've had experiences where we've done that and actually can start doing affiliate deals. And maybe, if you're selling something online, you give them a discount code they can offer their followers. So that's a feel good thing for their followers. And on the flip side, they can maybe get a little piece of the action. You give them a couple points. They make a little money by promoting your product. You're not having to pay them to be an influencer. You're just giving them sort of a way to opt in to your program, and you're also driving sales. So those types of experiences can happen if you sort of get in on the ground floor with people and you grow with them. So, and that works for products. I mean, we've got a little rental property that I was just doing this with my 12-year-old daughter, where we're building a Instagram page and we're building a profile, and I let her do all the reel production, and she's just doing it all with the cell phone. She shoots the video and she uses Canva to edit it herself. And she did a great job. And she reached out to a bunch of regional influencers that are kind of like things to do and cool travel blog type influencers on YouTube and on Instagram and on TikTok. And we messaged about 20 of them. They all had decent sized pages and said, hey, we have this little house and it's an Airbnb and we'd love for you to promote it. And what's that look like? And some came back and said, here's my agent and we're going to charge you X amount of dollars. Okay, thank you, but we're going to go a different way. Some wrote back and said, hey, if I can spend the night and check it out and make sure the house is what you say it is and it's great, and I'd love to review it, or maybe pay me a small amount of money, a couple $100 to cover my time. And that seems like a fair deal. So we put that together. We also came up with an idea with one of them that we're working with, where she said, hey, let's do a contest. And she has a 6-figure following. And she said, I'll do a contest to my followers. And everyone who likes the page for the rental gets entered for a free weekend at the house. And, gives me something cool to give away to my readers. And it gives you a way to grow your page really quickly and gives you guys a little bit of extra attention and doesn't cost any money. Win-win. So, the earned media thing, because it is kind of split between traditional journalism and creators, the traditional thing, it has gotten a little harder, but it's still totally doable. You just have to put in the time. With the content creator thing, and that's not even getting into podcasts, where literally most of the time, if you just find the producer and reach out to a podcast and say, hey, and as long as it's relevant, again, the relevance thing is important. If you are in the, outdoor industry, don't pitch yourself to ESPN podcast. It's not a fit. It's too big. So check the size of the audience, make sure it's covering the right content. And then, even like Substack is another place where a lot of writers that have become freelancers and independent content creators have Substack newsletters that have big audiences, and most of them are produced by the writer themselves. So send them a note, pitch yourself. So the independent content creator thing has become a real powerful force, and it is something you can DIY. You just have to put in the time. And that is actually, honestly, where a lot of agencies bring a little bit of a competitive advantage once you can afford one. Is a good agency has relationships they can rely on, and B, they have enough people, many of whom have specialties, that they can throw 3 or 4 people on a project and get results very quickly, versus if you're running a business and you're trying to handle finance and handle HR and handle procurement, and you're also trying to do some marketing and PR, there's just only so many hours in the day, so it just gets harder to do it. But there is definitely a way to do it yourself to get things started. And so I would start there. Hope that helps. So Bill, appreciate the question. Thanks.